Please welcome to the stage Nvidia VP and GM of Media and Entertainment, Richard Kerris.
Thank you very much. In those scenes that we just saw, historically, they would take a long time to render. Sometimes weeks, months. For feature films, they could take years. Rendering has always been one of the hardest bottlenecks in the computer graphics industry. But 8 years ago, we achieved real-time with RTX. Why is that important? Because when you can simulate reality, it's the first step in achieving what we're doing today with AI. Now, today, we're used to seeing AI being adopted by a lot of different companies. They're using it more like Google, in a sense, a better version of Google. They're using it like a feature. But there's so much more that's about to happen with AI. While we were waiting for renders in the past, we get to real time. Today, we render for the heavy lifting of AI. When we use generative AI, that can take some time. But that is all changing as well. We just recently announced the Vera Rubin platform. And I want to show you a little clip about what that means and then put it in context to match up what this means coupled with the real-time rendering. Take a look.
Vera Rubin arrives just in time for the next frontier of AI. This is the story of how we built it. The architecture, a system of 6 chips, engineered to work as one, born from extreme co-design. It begins with Vera, a custom-designed CPU, double the performance of the previous generation, and the Rubin GPU. Vera and Rubin are co-designed from the start to bidirectionally and coherently share data faster and with lower latency. Then, 17,000 components come together on a Vera Rubin compute board. High-speed robots place components with micron precision before the Vera CPU and 2 Rubin GPUs complete the assembly. Capable of delivering 100 petaflops of AI, 5 times that of its predecessor. AI needs data, fast. Connect X9 delivers 1.6 terabits per second of scale-out bandwidth to each GPU. Bluefield 4 DPU offloads storage and security, so compute stays fully focused on AI. The Vera Rubin compute tray, completely redesigned with no cables, hoses, or fans, featuring a Bluefield 4 DPU, 8 Connect X9 NICs, 2 Vera CPUs, and 4 Rubin GPUs. The compute building block of the Vera Rubin AI supercomputer. Next, the 6th generation NVLink switch. Moving more data than the global internet, connecting 18 compute nodes, scaling up to 72 Rubin GPUs, operating as one. Then, Spectrum X Ethernet Photonics. The world's first Ethernet switch with 512 lanes and 200 gigabit capable co-packaged optics scale out thousands of racks into an AI factory. 15,000 engineer years since design began, the first Vera Rubin NVL72 rack comes online. 6 breakthrough chips, 18 compute trays, 9 NVLink switch trays, 220 trillion transistors, weighing nearly 2 tons. One giant leap to the next frontier of AI. Rubin is here.
Well, our major partner that we had at the launch of Vera Rubin was Runway. And prior to this, it took time for the generative AI to create the content. Now, in the clips that I showed you at the beginning, anything that you saw in those clips had to have been created, modeled, animated, given light and rendering, all the capabilities there. With generative AI, as we know, we can prompt things and get things out, but it took time to do that. Now, with Vera Rubin, you can do this in real time. Runway was able to bring their 4.5 software up in a day on Vera Rubin, and the results blew us all away. It was another milestone in the industry for real-time computer graphics with real-time generative AI. Take a look at the results.
AI video generation changes how scenes are created and directed, but can't scale at the speed AI simulation and creator workflows require. Just 3 months ago, Runway's Gen 4.5 generated scenes in minutes. Now their new model, accelerated by Vera Rubin, generates them instantly. That speed changes everything. Instead of waiting for a render, scenes can be directed while they are generated. With just a simple prompt, new frames appear. When new direction is given, the scene updates again in real time. Video generation becomes a live creative loop. In Nvidia Cosmos, real-time video generation can also be used to simulate physical environments for training Alpamayo. Starting from a single image, a complete world is generated and can be explored. Every new frame is generated in real time as the car moves. Because the world is generated rather than recorded, developers can create large numbers of rare or dangerous scenarios. These edge cases are critical for training Alpamayo's reasoning abilities. With Vera Rubin, real-time video generation is no longer a concept. It's here and reimagining what's possible.
So these building blocks are coming together to bring us to the next generation of AI, and it's what we call agentic AI. Now, you know of an agent where you can give it an operation to do something and it'll go off and do that. Agents are getting much, much more sophisticated. They can reason, they can perform operations, and most importantly, they can connect with other agents. This is what we mean when we talk about agentic AI. So combining some of the things that we all saw there, audio, video, 3D, 2D, and bringing them all together, those are all different agents that can be working in unison. This is an amazing new breakthrough in our compute model. We used to think of compute as a fetch and retrieve, where you would have your software on a system, you would do something with it, you would save your file, et cetera, back and forth. But today, with agentic AI, you're actually conversing with your computer. You're talking to it. And this is what we mean when we talk about the narrative is the new tool for computer graphics. Okay, when you look at the platform for agentic AI, the fundamental shift here from the retrieval-based compute model is bringing us to this next era. Agents use reasoning and planning to solve multi-step problems. They're systems that can act with autonomy, pursue goals, and make decisions. They don't just generate, they can plan and execute. And agents are not chatbots. You think of them as a new computing platform. Super important because they can have multimodal prompts, and they can do work with your memory, your files, they can do sub-agents and create other things all on the fly and all coordinated autonomously. This means your computer has now become your real assistant, and you communicate with that computer, not with user interfaces and reading manuals and all of these other things that have done in the past. This new computer paradigm is about talking to your computer. And nowhere is this going to be more evident in some of the tools that people use day to day. We recently announced a partnership with Adobe where we're going to bring this technology to their portfolio of products. So whether you're using them for creating or marketing or other tools that they have tens of millions of customers that do every day and rely on them for their business, bringing this kind of compute power into that means that there will be more creativity options, better content being created, all with people that are focused on what they want out of the computer versus how much they know about a particular software program and other things. This is what we mean when we talk about agentic AI, having the narrative drive your creative process. Now, the narrative as the new tool means that you're going to be able to talk to your computer and communicate with your computer. Much like Kathleen was saying earlier, the taste becomes important, the intent becomes important, how you're communicating what you want from your end result. The same way you would have done with teams that you worked with in the past, you're now going to have this kind of a relationship with your computer. And this is what's going to change everything. So when the brief is clear, agents know what to do. The system compounds judgment instead of replacing it. You're driving this creative process. The new media pipeline is going to be based on these things, right? Traditionally, a media pipeline was a storyboard to a wireframe to an animatic and all these different steps. And it was basically a handoff step each step of the way. And if you were at a step 5 or 6 and you want to change something at step 2, you basically had to deconstruct to go back to do that. But AI is now the pipeline. AI is underneath all of these different steps, and it understands all of the steps. So you can be at any one of them and go back to another one and make changes, and it'll all conform appropriately. We have a tech stack at Nvidia, and our tech stack is very unique in the context that it works across all of our different platforms. So whether it's from a laptop to a data center. Our tech stack starts at the very bottom with the optimization on Blackwell and now Vera Rubin. And then on top of that, you start to have the libraries that you work with. And they can be open libraries, Runway, Adobe, or Cosmos, ours, things like that. And then on top of that, you have other tools for developers to build with. And then finally, as you see up the top, you have third-party applications. Now, what's unique about this tech stack is this tech stack ran on last year's version, the year before that, and as you saw with Runway, they were able to get their software up and running on our newest platform in a day. That's incredibly important. We look at media and entertainment in our world in the areas of intelligent content creation, streaming, and live media, but they actually work across many other verticals as well, retail, ad tech, et cetera. As you heard earlier, over 70% of all internet traffic is media. So this is how it all comes together. Now, we also have our research team constantly developing new capabilities for these technologies. And AI for media is a perfect example of a number of different tools, SDKs, microservices, and things that are available. And soon, you'll be able to use your agentic AI to call on these if you want to do something. So you can imagine you're in a scene, you're working on something, and you go, I want to relight it. You can have your agent go call one of these tools, bring it in, do the relighting, and interact with that in real time. Media and entertainment has always been the leading way for a lot of computer graphics breakthroughs. You heard this earlier from Kathleen and Chris when they were talking about it. So many things have come from this industry. Why? Because we all consume media. We all love what goes on in it. And there's many different forms of it. From the content archives that exist today with hundreds of exabytes of content in archives and broadcasters and studios and stuff, one of the biggest challenges is how do you retrieve that? How do you understand what you have? Well, AI can understand. And when it can understand that, it can help you go through those archives, retrieve content that you want back in a way that's meaningful and represents what you're after. We've just recently announced a deal with UMG, the largest music company in the world, where they've got billions of hours of content and no way to really understand it. There's no mere mortal that can go through all that metadata. But now our research team and theirs are going to work together to be able to train models on all of those archives, to be able to bring them forward and allow you to interact with them in the same way we were talking about earlier. Live media, you have over 18 million hours of live media, sports and stuff being created each year. All of that now can have the understanding and ability to enhance that with AI, to be able to bring you information, what players doing what, when's the last time they did that, all kinds of things. You see it today in a lot of sports and entertainment, and it's only going to grow. And then, of course, we have our creativity, the ability to use AI to create. This is a lot of what we've been talking about here today. But when you get to think about it from a creative process, if your particular task is designing the hero product there, the Coke bottle, you want to be able to see it in a lot of different environments. Historically, that would be going to do new photo shoots or new renderings, things like that. Again, real-time AI, real-time generative AI, and now the ability to interact with an agent means you can say, no, show me this in a different scene. Try it a different way. This is how this whole thing is starting to change, where the narrative becomes the driver of your tools. Now, none of this gets done in a boardroom. This is really about the developer community. The developers have more power than they've ever had before, but they need to rely on things from taking their code that they think about into an intelligent architecture that people can actually use. And they require 3 things. They need the right tools, a flexible infrastructure, and the ability to compress months of build time into days. Okay, that's what our NVIDIA developer platform delivers. SDKs, microservices, blueprints on how to use them, all of these things purpose-built for media. Now, what should leaders do in this new world that's taking place in front of us right now is the first and most important thing is to remember that AI is not just a feature you add on to something that exists today. Remember, it's a new compute model. It's an underlying fabric of everything that goes on. So you have to rethink your pipelines, rethink your workflows. Ideally, pick one of the workflows that you have today and dissect it. Build out the flywheel. Understand where you're spending the most time, money, and other things, and then start to build agents that can address those things, or work with our partners who have agents and can help you along the way, or ISV partners as well. Keep the governance in that workflow, understand what you're doing, and then train the organization on the narrative that it took to create that. That's how you start to bring this new compute paradigm into your workflows. Now, where this is all heading, everything, every signal is computable. And what we mean by that is every frame, every stream that's taking that frame to the screen, all of that will have AI in it. So when we heard earlier about the ability to reformat images to vertical, to horizontal, things like that, it won't be very long before that signal that's coming out will be able to have the intelligence in it to do that on the fly. So everyone in here watching a particular video could look at it on their device how they want, and it'll conform to that and maintain the object that's being directed on in that context. Okay? But it goes much further than that. Right? Think about it with distribution of content, a live sports game, with real-time localization in language, real-time rendering for neural rendering so that people look like they're speaking the exact language that you're seeing it in. And it'll go even further. You'll have hyper-localization. So maybe certain content shouldn't be displayed in certain areas. AI will be in that stream and be able to give that kind of control. These are the things that are happening right now in the industry, and these breakthroughs are what is making that possible. Now, as I said, scalable solutions are what makes this all valuable for the developer community and rewarding for the creators that are using it. So whether it's a desktop AI system like our Spark or our AI systems on laptops, desktops, and workstations, all the way up to the great data centers and stuff, one tech stack works across them all. Develop once, deploy everywhere. And lastly, how to get started with all of this? Well, if you're a startup, like Runway was just a few years ago, they joined our Inception program. That's how we met them and got to understand what they were up to and started to work together. We have a great program for Inception and startups. Build on the platform. If you're an existing developer, our tools are free. Go out there, go to build.nvidia.com, check them out. Look at the different examples that are out there. We give you blueprints, so we can give you a whole layout on how to do an LLM or something with all the components that are there, and then just start to learn. And lastly, work with our extensive partner network. Partners that will help you integrate and build these AI workflows for your companies and how to integrate them to improve your workflows or what you're doing today. So those are the key things. Now, Kathleen said this earlier, and I thought it was great how the connections between our thoughts were similar. You know, it was George Lucas who originally said story first, technology in service of the story. And I think he is so important in our industry for having had that vision. You know, his vision to make things happen is what gave us tools like Photoshop. That came out of Lucasfilm. Digidesign, that came out of Lucasfilm. Even Pixar came out of Lucasfilm. Not that George was a technologist at all. As a matter of fact, he was one of the least technical persons you'd ever meet. But he had a vision, and he would just challenge his team with that vision because it was the story he wanted to tell, and the technology would serve that story. So the last thing I want to show you is a clip that I really love. This is a clip from Runway, but I don't want you to look at any of the technology. I don't want you to think about any of the technology. Just take a look at the story and think about the story that's being communicated. Then after you think about it, realize this is the kind of stuff that's happening today in real time, through the narrative, through a voice, through your interaction with the computer. That's the next generation of where we're headed. And think about what that's going to do for your business, and enjoy this beautiful little clip. Thank you very much.